Welcome to Fantasy Femme Fatales, where two fantasy readers dive headfirst into the worlds of romantasy and dark romance. From fantasy deep dives to book club banter, we're talking plot, magic systems, and all the spicy details. So pour a drink, grab your latest obsession, and let's turn the page together.
Vesper and Everest are walking straight into danger. Will either of them make it out alive? Let's dive into the wildest section of Neverkeep yet. Kara, are you ready?
I'm ready!
We are in the middle of Neverkeep. This section ended on a cliffhanger and it was rough, so thank you for being with us. We're covering chapters 26 through 35 of Neverkeep. As usual, we'll recap the main events and then get into all of our reactions and predictions. So make sure you watch until the end to get all of those juicy bits. We want to know if we're onto anything, so drop us a comment or a DM, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming episodes.
So we start with Vesper, and she confirms that she's killed 4 Fae since arriving at Neverkeep at Dragor's command. She stands at a ceremony held by the High Reapers and digs into Everest's desires and finds revenge, a desire that Vesper herself can really relate to. The Reaper speaks of a series of murders, and they've confirmed that the murderer is Calla Emberthorn. They bring her to the front of the crowd and literally pull her to pieces in front of everyone. This is definitely something a little bit different from the other books that we've read. We've got some of this, but nothing like this.
No, it was gross. It was full gross.
So during this moment, Vesper can't help but wonder what they'll do to her next. She follows Everest into the washroom and demands answers regarding the Reaper's secrets. Everest tells her about the screams she hears in the dark and what she saw in the caverns beneath the keep. And Vesper tells her not to tell anyone about it and suggests a blood bond promise where they'll swear not to kill or harm one another by any means while they're both at Neverkeep. And if either of them break this bond, their blood will fester and they will die. Romantic. They use a blade to combine their blood, and Vesper paints an S-shaped rune of Awaz for trust and a large X for Gebo.
They weren't flowing off the tongue.
They weren't. They were feeling very much like Galamp.
They were giving Galamp like 1,000%.
They were giving satire of like a fantasy element for some reason. I don't know. Is it supposed to be funny?
I don't know. Yeah, let's go with satire.
So Gebo/Gibo for trust, or building a relationship. Vesper calls on her ether to summon the bond and seals it with an incantation. This little friendship between them is bringing me so much joy. I know it's like a blood bond and it's supposed to be serious, but I kind of love it. I love it for them.
It was very like high school friends. Like I haven't really felt like there was like a high school feel until the scene where she follows her into the bathroom and then they do this like blood bond.
Right.
It felt like, blood brothers.
Yeah. I think it's the budding of a beautiful friendship.
I hope so, right? Vesper receives an invitation / summons being required to attend a royal event as the property of the prince. She wanted to see him with a feral desperation, but she also can't stand the idea of having the prince's eyes on her yet again after this whole engagement situation. Now, Rakmir, the floating island of stolen land, appears for their transportation back to Rathbane. Vesper is a mess of emotions, and we're feeling for our girl. She's got this toxic desire to see Dragor, along with this rejection bubbling up from his choice to marry and abandon her, basically. She's also filled with fear that he will see through what she's been hiding, or maybe even sense the attention and affection between her and Cayde. Vesper reflects on the contradictions of her order and how she's a prisoner to it. The way she looked held such power, but it was also a mask and she could never take it off, which is unlike any other Fae. She had an order that she couldn't shift out of. She arrives in Rathbane and makes her way to Prince Dragor's quarters. Now, Dragor was very unpredictable and volatile as always, and his desires are unreadable, like trying to read a group of people instead of just one. She was foolish enough to think he would remain without a wife and keep Vesper as the open secret that he kept by his side, but here she was, proven wrong. This was sad, no?
It was sad. Honestly, he disgusts me now, like seeing the way that he's hurt Vesper.
Yeah, and like he makes her go to this whole thing, obviously knowing it's going to hurt her after he's laid claim to her and made her feel like a pile of trash that she has to win the affections of. This was hurtful. I didn't like it.
I didn't like it either. I still was kind of like hoping that Dragor would change. I really like the possessive side of him. Like, not gonna lie, I really love that. But yeah, I did not have this on my bingo card, and I really was hoping that he wouldn't be a piece of shit. He can be possessive and toxic in every other way, except for this one. Like, this one really hurts.
Yeah, like I thought maybe he was just going to be a toxic bachelor kind of feel, like can't weigh him down.
It's not doing it for me, Dragor.
We're done with you, Dragor. So Dragor tells her, there's someone who wishes to meet you. They arrive in a reception room with a woman sitting in a chair, raking her eyes over Vesper as she walks in. Now, Vesper notes a mural on the wall with the Elysium prophecy written on it. And this version proclaimed that the Sky Wielders would lead all Fae to end the endless war. And if we remember from last episode, we got a glimpse of the version that Everest is familiar with, where the Rain Carvers are bringing the world to peace. Vesper looks at this woman, and she thinks to herself, one look and I hated her. I hated every single thing about her. I hated her because she was everything I wasn't, everything I could never be, and all the reasons why it should have been so obvious that no matter what promises Dragor stole from my lips, it would never have been me sitting up there at his side.
Heartbroken, but also leaves a little bit more room for Cayde. So onward and upward. Fuck you, Dragor.
Finding a silver lining. And also, I feel like this chick is ugly and she's the worst. So enjoy, Dragor. Like, I don't even think you're going to want to touch her. Yes. And like the bitch Cassandra that was like being a real twat over at Neverkeep about the whole situation. Remember her? Like, I just feel like they're one in the same. I keep wanting to call them garbage humans, and they're not humans. They're garbage fae.
True. So side note, do we know what Dragor's order is?
I don't think so. I've thought about this too. I don't know. I don't get him.
Same, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like he has been described as multiple people instead of one. So I thought that might have to do with his order, or does he simply just have a cluster B personality disorder? Like, does he have multiple personalities?
I have no freaking clue. I think it's being like intentionally withheld from us, but it is like giving a similar vibe to like our Kaiser, our Vesper, a like dark and dangerous kind of order. But like, as far as I can remember, there aren't scenes where we see him really use his order.
I'm loving the mystery around it. I don't know why, but I immediately thought of Ninetales, you know, the Pokemon Ninetales. Like, I don't know why I thought that, because really I'm seeing him as having like 9 faces. I'll have to put a photo. I'll put a photo in right here.
Yeah, I could see him being a dragon, but I also don't want him to, like he can't. There are no dragons, and he can't be the dragon. He is not good enough.
True.
But, the thing is that this book has been such a mystery when it comes to the orders. Like, we're getting the craziest orders. So I have no freaking clue.
So the woman says to Vesper, "Turn around." "No," I replied, and Dragor's lips twisted in amusement. She introduced herself as Alexandrius Collingsdale, the future queen, and Vesper calls her out on treason. How dare she speak of the king's death? Dragor tells Vesper that Alexandrius requested honesty above all else, taking absolutely no issue with him claiming a concubine, maybe even wanting to share her. Who wants to be called a concubine? Doesn't he like ask her what she wants to be called? Like, I don't want to be called any of those things, bro.
And like, oh, I want honesty above all else. Like, fuck off.
Literally. That's not really fair to Vesper, considering that she has been lied to about this whole thing. Obviously, this pisses Vesper off. Once again, she's being seen as nothing more than a sexual object or a toy to be passed around. Dragor clarifies that he's a possessive creature, and he has commanded her loyalty without a fault. So naturally, Vesper finds this whole situation absolutely disgusting and has a moment of clarity, surprised that she ever even found him attractive. "I do not think this arrangement will suit me," she says. Dragor then reminds her that, too bad, she swore herself to him. You don't have a choice in this, Vesper. At the same time, Vesper reaches for Alexandrius's desires, finding a feral, rabid beast desperate for power and with lust. Disgusting. I don't want any part of this woman's lust anywhere near my girl.
No, he's giving pedo vibes, honestly.
Literally, there's something about her that is giving pedo vibes. She wanted to fuck a succubus, and she wanted nothing more than a creature of sin answering to her beck and call. "I'm a warrior, not a whore," Vesper growled. "I felt I was seeing him clearly at last." I was just a thing to him. I'd never been special. That part actually made me really sick. Like, I did not like that. And now we've got Alexandrius, Prince Dragor, and Commander Rake as the shit list.
Vesper and Everest are now fully feeling like worthless pieces of shit that have never felt special in their lives. Like, they've gotten that in common, which is shitty, but it's maybe cute somehow.
Yeah, it feels like two sides of the same coin. This is kind of how I felt with Zodiac Academy. I need revenge. And I have a feeling we're not going to get it by the end of this book. And that's going to piss me off. It's going to piss me off.
Yeah. We have 10 chapters left of this book, and like reality was really setting in for me the other day that I was just like, ooh, we've got so many questions.
So many questions.
I have to say this bitch's name. Alexandrius Collinsdale is how I hear. Like, she sounds British, like Victorian or something, and so out of place, but so pretentious and like gross.
I am now forevermore going to be hearing her name the exact same way. I'm obsessed.
The names in this book, and like I make fun of them, but I also love them because they really do like depict the character. Like, you so get a feel for the character from that dumbass name. Everest, on the other hand, she finds herself in a bit of a predicament with Ransom and her father back at the keep. Her father calls on her inability to cast both hands, exposing her to a bunch of her comrades, and she lies. She says she can cast with both, and he then tells her that the Reapers actually told him the truth, and so he knows that she can't, and ha ha ha. He was pretty dead set on making sure that everyone else knew it, but our friend Galam comes to the rescue and proclaims just how strong Everest actually is. And unfortunately, the commander then challenges her to a fight and chooses Ransom as his champion. So Everest holds her ground, and she fully attacks him and breaks his nose in what was such a satisfying moment of vengeance for our girl. Ransom, on the other hand, manages to channel the commander's magic and doubles their force, and then creates a wall of ice around her that almost suffocates her until she's forced to yield. So not a super happy ending, but at about the same time, Everest's little lizard friend leaps onto Ransom and bites him on the neck, and that kind of freaks him out. So the fight breaks up, and Galant and Everest then kind of mingle away and consider what this little lizard friend might be. Is it a crocodile? Is it a tiny dragon? They notice he has little wings, and then they decide to name him Blue. And oh, my little heart, at this Easter egg for all you Zodiac Academy fans, this made me so happy.
This was crazy. Like, first of all, I was so pissed about Commander Rake and Ransom. Like, I'm sick of these public displays of humiliation that Everest is going through. But part of me in this part, there were two things. Obviously, 100% convinced that Blue is a baby dragon at this point. And that's something that's a little bit unheard of from Zodiac Academy.
Yes, we don't know baby dragon.
Right?
That can like also weave into walls and stuff. Like, I don't know. Love it.
And the other thing I was thinking of too is like Galump. So like he's playing this kind of dumb oaf card to me personally, and has just kind of passed off her abilities as like through these warded doors with her, not saying anything, and then makes the comment that she's so strong. What does he know that we don't know? You know? And so I wonder if he's like some sort of protector, like was meant to be friends with her somehow.
I love that. Do you think Blue is like, he's there for Everest, right? Like, he's not quietly like Galamp's friend, right?
I don't think so. I think Blue is like, I want to say that it's an order, like a Fae order, like a type of dragon of some sort. Or maybe it's just a dragon. Like, I don't know. But I know it's a fucking dragon. That's all I know.
Comment about it being like the familiar is right. And I don't know why and I don't know how, but that is really just feeling like the vibe. It's like snuggled up in her backpack, and then it attacks her brother. I think if it was like an order and it was like a Fae, like, I don't think they could be in their order.
You're probably right. I mean, either way, he's leading the way. He's got her back.
He's got her back. I think I should ask a request because I just did a really embarrassing Alexandrius Collinsdale voice. I think you should do your best Galam voice.
I already have it in my head. Galam! Do you like
Like, it's so much better than I thought it was gonna be. Oh, that was gold. Once we get some good, like, Galump one-liners, like, Kara's gonna be the voice. Auditioning for the voice of Galump on the audiobook.
I'm waiting for my big break.
So Everest heads back to her little basement room and she has succeeded in making a forge, which is like big news. She makes a sword and she then notices how she's always felt at home with fire, even though it's the opposite of her element. How curious. She also remembers the words that Mavis told her about all the elements all working together and all being important. Her little friend Blue seems fascinated by the forging process and watches her as she applies winter seed oil to the blade she's working on, making it very strong. Everest then decides to explore a cave that she spotted. It's barely visible from the shore, and so she hopes she can find her way there and maybe find Harlan and confirm that he is safe. So she makes her way to the water and then to the cave and has Blue by her side. And once again, Blue manages to squeeze through small crevices and be her guide. She hears the beat of a drum and then chanting, and the faint glimmer of firelight through a crevice indicating a doorway. She swims until she hits a dead end with a rock wall, and there's a ledge that is too far up for her to reach, and she realizes that she needs air power. How convenient. Who could help her with that? So here we are. She would have to ask for help from the only person who had the same suspicions as her and just might help her, the Sky Witch.
Together again at last.
Together again, friends. They're blood bargains. Question for you, Sarah. Do you think that Harlan is okay?
No, I have a feeling that we're going to be thrown a total curveball and she's going to be like this person trying to save him, but he's going to be an evil bastard. I think he's going to be totally indoctrinated by the Reapers, but he could just be dead, or maybe he's one of the ones that's being sacrificed, as we later find out. Who knows?
Yeah, I keep imagining him at like the bottom of the keep, like the screams that she keeps hearing. That could be a twist if he's just like become one of these ones that's like ready for the assessment or whatever. But it's not looking good, is the bottom line here. No more Mr. Nice Guy, I think.
Heck no. It's not looking good for our Harlan, and I am scared. I am scared for what's to come.
Poor Everest, but also like maybe we'll just like carve out some room for a Fury possibly, you know?
Ooh, I like that.
We need room for Kaiser.
Everest using her fire all the time with the forge. Like, it makes sense, and it also makes sense how her mom was really into fire and like gave her that Everflame. But I wondered if that's what she's imbuing. Maybe that's what Mavis saw in her. Maybe he was like, oh, this blade is very special because it's imbued with fire from a water wielder. So that was a thought that I had. And then also possibly why Kaiser kept the blade from her mom.
I really like that one. I could fully see that one. I also think maybe she's imbuing these things with her dark magic because it seems to kind of have like a mind of its own and it wants to go into things like into Kaiser, like into these shields and things. And like if she has some strange power source that isn't one of the elements, like I think she has another element, but I think this magic goes beyond that, then like that would be crazy in terms of like putting that into a weapon.
Totally. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like there is a lot around this fire, so I can totally see it, but I definitely feel like she's got to have, you know, some sort of power that's way bigger than what we're seeing here, especially as she's been able to like get through these wards that like on the doors. Like that can't be something that has to do with her elemental magic. Maybe her order, but I think it's more than that.
Yeah, I think it might have something to do with her order, and I'm like dying. Like I am worried we're not going to know in this book. Like I really need us to know. I'd like to see her really just like, even if it's up by accident, just like let this magic out, show us what you're capable of, and like somehow connect to it. But like we're tippy-toeing around it, and I'm getting very curious.
Yeah, and we're, like you said, 10 chapters out. And so let's go, Twisted Sisters. We better see some sort of hint.
It gets desperate when you see how much is left of the book, and it's like an hour 40 minutes, and it always feels so daunting that it's like there's still so much. Like, please don't leave us in the dark.
Filled with resentment and angst, Vesper wanders the streets of Rathbane, partying in brothels and drunk out of her mind. Sounds like my kind of party. Cayde sneaks up on her and she clumsily cuts her leg with her dagger. Cayde grabs her by the waist and throws her over his shoulder and dumps her in a bucket of water. He offers her an inebriation pill, hoping to sober her up, but she tosses it away. She questions why he's helping her, and he responds, "I've decided that I'm done with you hating me, so I'm ready to make you fall for me instead." Okay, Cade. No holding back. Let's get it. Vesper blows him off and at the same time trips and falls, and Cade just barely saves her from falling right on her face. In this scene, Cade seems to recognize the pain in Vesper and the methods that she's using to numb it. Now, Vesper doesn't want to return to her own apartment on Dragor's property, so he offers her his room in the city. Vesper plays hard to get and tells him that she doesn't need anyone and she never will. And he responds, "Need and want don't have to be the same thing." To which she crudely responds, "Why would I want you? Stop fighting it. Stop fighting it."
This was really like 5-year-old, like child temper tantrum Vesper. These one-liners.
I kind of had the feeling that they were Elysian mates, because why else would he be like professing his love to her so deeply? It feels a little fast. Feels a little fast.
It does feel fast. I wouldn't be opposed, but I don't think that's my theory at the moment. I think that something bad is going to happen. And I'm getting red flags. I am fully getting red flags from Cade. The words that he says. I don't even want to say too much right now. I have some thoughts for this episode. Fair. The reason why I must say is because we aren't getting Cade POVs. Like, we're only getting whatever he says to her when he's with her. So it could go either way. But from what he's saying and how intense he is about it, and what feels like these like 10-minute intervals of interactions they have together, red flags.
I'm excited to hear more. Vesper vaults herself into the sky, landing hundreds of meters away in front of a vendor selling clothes. And just before she's about to buy a dress, she realizes that she has no money left. Spent too much in the brothels, I guess. And of course, like clockwork, Cade appears once again and buys her the dress. "You're coming to my room," he demands. She asks how and why he found her, and he merely gives her excuses. I kind of like that he's being super demanding in this moment, not gonna lie. This was hot.
Yes.
So they find her way to his room, where a single bed rests in the middle of a small space. She removes her wet clothes in front of Cade, toying with him, and he nods his head to the washroom, offering her privacy. She returns from the washroom to find the room empty, filling her mind with questions of how she might free herself of the promises she made to Dragor. Cade appears with a bowl of soup and sits beside her on the floor. He grabs her leg, inspecting the wound she made when she cut herself with the dagger. And Vesper fights him off before eventually caving and putting ointment on her wound. There you have it.
The tension. Okay, I really did love this scene. I love that she just gets naked in front of him and then he turns around and leaves. Like, he's really toying with her, but like in the best way.
Totally. Yeah, she just gives no fucks though.
I mean, the confidence, right? Like, she knows she's a succubus. Like, she's never been rejected, I'm sure. I would like to propose a new book trope, and it's called "He Brings Her a Bowl of Soup." Because the amount of books that I read where there's a bowl of soup acted like, and it's always in this kind of like, it's the first nurturing gesture. It just cracks me up every time that it's soup.
It's always the soup. You're right.
There has to be something else. Like, I don't know, get them some corned beef or something. I don't know. But like, oh, in the scene, Cade is relentless and he acknowledges their rivalry. They also mutually hate each other. They both understand that too. However, he tells her that she has put too much weight on who she was born from, and she retorts that that's all people see, her weak blood. He disagrees and says to her, "You want them to see the cruelty, the carnage, the bloodshed, the face. And yeah, I've noticed the face, and the body, and every fucking inch of you. You wear what you are like a shield, and you trap hearts of fae in your grasp like they're toys." She asks, "Are you claiming I've stolen yours?" He responds, "You don't even know how perfect you are." And his words hit her exactly where Dragor had hit her the most, telling him that she is precisely what he has been looking for and using her name. Cade moves toward her, telling her he doesn't deserve her pain or her loyalty. Now, he's referring to Dragor in this instance, and he wants to know, is he crossing a line that she doesn't want crossed, or is it just one that was forced upon her regardless of what she wanted? And she is very aware. Cayde wants her just exactly as she is, broken and shattered in pieces, and she wanted to be more than what she cared to admit. And with that, she grabs him and she kisses him. Kara,
Crazy.
you are precisely what I've been looking for. Why is he always telling her that she's what he's looking for? And then he's looking at her all the time and he's watching her and he's telling her that there's snakes everywhere and he's telling her that she's important and that the prince is important. I just feel like there's a plot here.
Hell yeah. I really, really hope he's not going to betray her. Like, I will cry. I will cry. I really don't know if I can handle 2 betrayals. But you're right. This isn't just a coincidence. His words are hella suspect. Something ain't right.
I'm raising the flag, and it's not the last flag that we're going to see today. I'm just going to say that much. We've got some red flags among some green sexy flags. And this scene was hot, and I just felt like, are these twisted sisters just weaving in these little red flags as if we're not even going to notice them? And I noticed them.
Nothing gets by you.
I need to be prepared if she gets totally screwed over. Cayde begs for her to tell him that he's the one she wants. And I quote, "I want you to remember the words whenever you think of this and know that your destruction was entirely what you desired." Red flags.
Interesting.
I'm just going to let you sit with that for a second because it was red flags for me. Then she goes and says, "Make me a traitor, Cayde." So she's diving in once again. They let go of all barriers and Vesper channels her gifts, reaching for his desire and finding lust in what was a very, very hot scene, which I could only just imagine. This is exactly why everyone wants to screw Vesper, because she's not messing around with her succubus skills.
Yes.
They also share magic, which we know is a sexy time in Solarian. Cayde offers her a heady concoction of desire to Vesper, which she uses to channel into her magic. He was hungry for power and recognition, bloodshed and honor, so like Vesper that she couldn't believe it. She wondered how potent the 2 of them would be together. What a question. At the same time, Vesper felt free, finally claiming her fate for her own. She recognized that she was the key to everything that Cayde wanted, and that made her feel something she had never felt before. There's just a lot happening that has me really scared. And at the same time, like, these men keep basically being like, "I'm gonna be your destruction." And she's like, "Okay." And I'm worried that she just keeps doing the same stupid thing over and over again.
I know. You're right. Honestly, this is so sus. He's just progressively getting more and more weird, unfortunately. I don't like it. I will not have this. I will not have it if 2 men screw her over. And we're not feeling good about Harlan. We're not feeling good about any of the love interests at this point. Things aren't looking good. I'm just hoping that he's not gonna betray her. Like, maybe something's going on, but it's not like him getting ready to betray her.
Here's a thought. I really think that Cayde has been sent to watch Vesper because she's so important to the prince. And therefore, of course, that's the bargaining chip that you need. But it wouldn't be crazy for Cayde to be like playing both sides and doing the job he was hired to do, meanwhile, like fully falling for Vesper. And the things he's saying just happen to correspond to both. And then he's going to hit a point where he has to decide whose allegiance.
You got me thinking a little bit about Cayde. I had this theory that I was going to share in my predictions, but I feel like it makes more sense to share now. And it's more around his origin story. If we think about his family, they took a bunch of their army and all of the army was killed in that snap decision for them to wage war on another, I think it was the Earth Kingdom. Every single one of them died. Every single one of them apparently died. And that was kind of like, wait, that's interesting. And so I started to think, like, was it a trap? Like, were they like convinced to do that by possibly Prince Dragor? Or was that family part of a rebellion against the Skyforgers? Or just in general?
Interesting.
Of this society that's being built with the Reapers and all of the 4 different waging people. Because you're right, it feels like Cayde is hiding something. And so I'm wondering, like, did they actually, like his family, did they actually all die? Like, who sent him? Where did he actually come from? I agree with you that he's totally doing something, like with these words, like using her as a pawn, but maybe he's not actually evil. Maybe he will be the person that helps her find her true purpose, but maybe it's like a rebellion.
There's a lot going on with Cayde, that's for sure. I think that's interesting to like peek into his backstory a little bit. Yeah, I think that's like all interesting theory.
Right?
He's also from nobility, so who's he connected to? The fact that he's a sin fair is kind of weird to me because like
Yeah.
the only other ones we know of are like Vesper, who were like basically rejected, and in her case, she was born to the wrong star sign element kind of thing. The fact that they can just kind of like throw whoever they want into this sin fair category is weird to me. I don't really know what to make of him, but I think you're right. I could totally see Cayde being this person who's playing both sides. Like he does have an ulterior motive, an agenda, but he is also falling for Vesper. And so the things that he's saying have this like duality to them that
Right.
are very foreboding and are making me very nervous. But ideal would be like both are true. And then he's just faced with like having to make that ethical decision of like, does he follow whoever is maybe trying to give him the power and recognition he wants? Or does he say, screw that, like Vesper, and go for what he wants?
I have a feeling that she's gonna have to like put her trust in him at some point, and it's gonna be super hard because of what she went through with Dragor. I definitely think that you're onto something with Cayde being a little bit sneaky. I just don't know where that's gonna lead. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Like, what is he? It's all nuanced right now.
Is that as much as like I hate Dragor, whatever his name is, right now, like a morally gray, morally black character who is consistent is like, it's easy to get angry at them, but they're showing their cards the whole time. So like you can't hold that much against them. Where like someone who presents themselves like Cayde, who's like acting like he's looking out for her and then turns around and isn't, like that sucks.
Let's see if we have an idea by the end of the last 10 chapters.
Yeah, it's getting tight here.
Everest sneaks up on Vesper in the refectory, writing a message in ice on her drink, asking her to meet at midnight. Everest tells her that she's looking for Harlan, the only person that she has. She even admits how desperate she feels having to beg her enemies for help. I would not admit that. I'm sorry. You'd have to like pull that out of me. Her vulnerability does the trick, and Vesper agrees to follow her, giving Everest a cute little nickname, Kitten. I'm actually obsessed with this. I'm not sure if I want them to be friends or fuck. Like, there's some things that have been borderline teasingly flirty, and I'm like,
Sure.
I'm into it.
Full disclosure, it took me like way longer than it should have to connect the dots on what she kept calling her kitten. I haven't put a lot of weight on this leopard because we don't know what it is. And it was like this adolescent creature she formed into.
Lots of people get that nickname and don't have an order. So I get it. I get it. So they make it to the cliff, donning their swimsuits, custom made, artistry and all, on behalf of Everest. And I just have to say, these bathing suits, like, was this the scene where Everest embroidered SW on her bathing suit?
She had it very detailed for like, you hate this bitch, but like, you're making her custom clothing with like beautiful personalized accents. Like, okay, Everest, you're so mean. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, it was so cute. I was like, hee hee. Blue once again leads the way, moving between cracks in the wall while Vesper and Everest navigate the water and dive beneath the cave walls. Interesting that this little guy seems to always know where he's going somehow. They make their way to the rock with a tunnel at its peak, and Vesper draws air beneath her, pushing herself out of the water and leaving Everest behind. She then creates a whirlpool and drags Everest out of it, dangling her in the air before tossing her onto the rocky floor. Everest retaliates by casting ice beneath her, causing Vesper to crash into a wall. These little trysts between the two of them. Chef's kiss.
It's like so playful. So
right?
Cute and playful. Like, come on, girls. This is how Vesper shows love, right?
It's so cute. They enter a chamber with a dais in the center marked with silver writing, the words of the Elysium prophecy. But this time the words were different, referencing 4 lands, chosen ones, and fate favoring the peacemakers of destiny, leading them to the fortune and favor of the almighty sky. Big things. This was definitely a relieving moment for me. I was like, how can all of these people think that they're going to win this never-ending war? And the way for me that the prophecy mentioned chosen ones, plural, and peacemakers of destiny, it feels like we're getting some clarity on how Vesper and Everest could be connected to this prophecy. I know I mentioned this before, that I wanted Vesper and Everest to be the ones to change things and show all of these different lands that Fae can coexist with different elements. That was just a spitball, knowing we've read Zodiac Academy books and we do know that they can coexist. So maybe it's actually going to happen. I would be obsessed with that.
I would love that too. I'm just having doubts. I'm having doubts about the origins of the prophecy and how coincidentally it appears in these important places. Like, it feels like propaganda to me. And so I love a prophecy. And if it's a legit prophecy, then like I am fully on board and I love your theory, but I have doubts.
I think the prophecies that each land has, like the different elements, are the ones that maybe aren't real. And these like hidden one, or this hidden one in the cavern, is maybe the Reaper's secret little stash of what the real prophecy is supposed to be. That's my thought, but there's still so much that we don't know.
I want there to be like a seer they keep in the basement that is like actually responsible. Hear me out here. That they keep in the basement that is like actually responsible for the prophecy. And then the Reapers have just interpreted it in their own way into their own agenda. Because then I would fully be on board with it. But the fact that the Reapers are so connected to this prophecy is like just giving me the heebie jeebies. What are they up to? And why? Like, what are they after? I don't understand what they have to gain.
Totally. I think you're onto something too. Even just with religion, how people take religion and just distort it for their own gain in so many instances. It could be something like that too. Like the Reapers are seeing this prophecy and know they're biased to what their own beliefs and wants and desires are. And so they're just doing their own thing.
They're the only ones who are like supposedly connected to the stars. And so that has me worried, because as soon as you put a group of people in control of the Almighty God's message, now you have to put ultimate faith that you're getting the truth from them.
So we'll see what happens. With the prophecy, Everest and Vesper are super confused, having only known versions of the prophecy that spoke to their own lands being victorious. They question who would have made that kind of decision and why. They hear a sound, then follow a tunnel towards a room with a sloped floor shaped into a basin, a goblet rotating on the floor inside it, among other objects, all of which are lacking color, like the vibrancy had been leaked out of them. Everest moves to step into the room, but Vesper holds her back, noticing her phalite cracking sporadically. She feels a pull on her magic connected to the light, something trying to pull her into the room. Everest hits her with a blast of water, disconnecting her from whatever was pulling at her. It was like something was feeding on me, Vesper says. They leave the chamber, heading for safety, and compare the room to a stone amplification chamber like the ones the Reapers use to talk to the stars, mentioning that those rooms are typically underwater, not beneath the dirt and rock in Neverkeep. Vesper makes a comment about how this room they found doesn't seem like it was seeking approval from the heavens. Interesting. Curious. They continue on and they each feel sensations connected to their elements. Everest hears the sound of the ocean and Vesper feels the wind on her face. They are torn between staying where they are, clearly dangerous, and going back where they came from, unsure of whether a group of Reapers are headed their way. Vesper suggests blood magic to help them see what lies ahead. She talks about how much she's given in order to earn her reputation and suggests that this blood magic causes her to give something up or affects her soul, but we don't really understand how. Everest agrees, and using a combination of her blood, some hair, and herbs, she sets the concoction on fire and begs for it to enlighten her. Unfortunately, Vesper finds nothing, and they have to hope that nothing horrifying lies ahead of them both.
What for that blood magic, eh?
I know, right?
We're just gonna do a little blood magic. Didn't tell me anything. Thanks for that.
Right? So this was interesting. Again, Vesper getting this feeling that she's being fed on.
Mm-hmm.
And we have heard similar language used by the Reapers when they sacrifice those other Fae. The words feasting, sacrifice, so on and so forth. And then these gray walls and these items leached of their color. Your theory before of like something feeding on these Fae, like their magic maybe, their essence.
Yeah.
But like, why was Everest not affected in this moment? Like it seemed to only affect Vesper.
The way I read it was like Vesper had a Fae light. So she was generating her magic to like light the way. And so it latched on her because it was like active, because it grabbed started crackling, and then it like was pulling her in like a tether.
Interesting. Maybe you're right. Maybe it was just the fact that Vesper was using her power.
Yeah. I was thinking of it like a drain, like
Mm.
the water gets like pulled in, or like a vacuum or something, like sucking that energy down. So maybe like in absence of that, there's no magnet to pull on.
Mm.
But I really thought this scene was very interesting. It really leveled things up for me. It was like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Even this random objects at the bottom of it that were like void of color, I don't know what that means, but I thought it was cool and interesting.
Totally. Yeah. It does feel like there's something feasting, draining, whatever.
Something.
The other thing that I thought was really interesting is when Vesper made a comment about giving up part of her soul to this blood
Mhm.
magic and has no idea what that means. Like, what do you mean? Like, you were that desperate to work with an oracle and have some sort of power in the war that you just didn't care to learn about the sacrifice you were making. So, I don't know. I'm hoping that we're going to find out what that means soon,
Mhm.
but I feel like whatever she had to give up possibly made her part of this prophecy.
Yeah, I that really stuck out to me too. I mean, yeah, that would be nice if the prophecy and this dark magic connected. I could see it. Like I could see if the oracle, we don't know if it's like a good oracle or a bad oracle. Like
Hmm.
they seemed good. They were like educating her on her succubus order too. She kind of glosses over the fact that she has to give things up and like her soul, it's like her soul is tarnished. Kind of gave me this like idea of with another religious element, are you almost like giving up like heaven or like the afterlife by like tarnishing your
Ooh.
soul? But we haven't really heard about how like the afterlife works. There are
True.
references to like beyond the veil, which has like a reference to death in the Solarian universe. So I'm curious about that. The other thing is that there's a similar comment by Kaiser in this part of the book about him like having a sacrifice thing in like the darkness. And so maybe Kaiser also practices dark magic and has like the same kind of
Ooh.
like sacrifices that Vesper has made.
I like that. Oh my gosh. There's definitely something amongst him and his, I guess, other orphan brethren that
Mhm.
makes him maybe, I don't want to call him a favorite, but like stand out amongst some of the others. So I think you might be onto something there.
Vesper asks Everest what happened to her hand, noticing the scars. And Everest talks about the attack on Castle Lorraine a year ago and tells Vesper that she should remember because she was there. And finally, we get a little acknowledgement of where this rivalry between these two began. Now they find their way to the end of the tunnel and meet a wooden door. And they walk through it and find 20 stone archways in a large circle. On the ground, there are elemental symbols and all the zodiac signs carved into the rock. And each archway was carved with runes and symbols as well. Vesper notices one of the runes on the archway, and its meaning represents travel. At the same time, Everest finds an urn with markings of dragons and stars dancing and a substance inside like black glitter. Everest speaks of the long lost dragon shifters, and some would say that the sea devoured them to punish them for their love of flames. Others have said that they chose a life on some hidden island, abandoning the war just like the vampires did. And Vesper, on the other hand, says she heard that they had a way to travel through starlight. They could disappear in the blink of an eye and appear somewhere very far away. And so the stars were jealous of their power. And one day the starlight swallowed them whole and they were never seen again. I love these like dragon like theories, prophecies, whatever they are.
Same, especially with the color that we have from the other Zodiac Academy books. I feel like that helps us theorize on this so much more than what if we went into this completely blind and didn't have that knowledge. So yeah, it's
Yes.
exciting.
Because we can spot the differences and we won't get into too much. I did want to highlight one thing that is definitely not a spoiler, but it is a crossover. So the black glitter that they mention, it must be stardust or a form of it, and that is a substance that is used to travel between different places. The Fae use this in other Solarian stories. And something that we know is that stardust can be created from different substances, and based on the substance that it's created from, it can be used for different purposes. So we get black stardust here, and we don't really know how it was created, but we are curious. So they release a fistful of this substance into the base of the archway that Vesper is standing beside, and they watch it fall through the cracks. The rune then lights up with magic, and the archway lights up until a burst of light explodes from the center. A pool of glimmering white and silver ripple in the space within the archway. I'm going in there, Vesper says, and they both step in. And immediately, energy wraps around both of them, and the world spins away. They hear whispers and feel eyes looking at them. And then they land on a sandstone floor somewhere completely unfamiliar to Everest. Vesper, on the other hand, knows exactly where she is. The walls have markings indicating that they are in Stormfell, and she realizes the secret that they've just uncovered. If other nations knew about these passageways, they could use them to send armies invading into foreign lands directly beneath them. Now, Everest hears a sound, and she follows it. They hear a deep rumbling and notice crystals jutting out from the walls. There's a deep power emanating out of them, and they follow the light and hear the sound again, and quickly are confronted with a beast larger than a building with silver eyes glaring at them from 50 feet above them. It has deadly fangs, scales, and scars covering its body, along with a collar of crystals puncturing its neck. A dragon!
Dun, dun, dun.
Guys, we have a dragon. We know we're not supposed to, but we have a dragon.
Finally. Oh my gosh, so exciting.
So exciting. And then the dragon lurches for them, and Vesper manages to create an air shield and protects them. They race back from where they came, barely outrunning this dragon as it chases them. And Everest grabs a handful of our glimmering substance once again and throws it at a rune on the door to activate. Once again, silver light explodes, and they're pulled in among the stars, and they arrive back at a chamber in the keep. So let's just talk about our stardust for a second, okay? Now, this travel experience felt different than ones that I've read about in other Solarian books. Did you find the same?
I always kind of pictured stardust, I think, as black. So I'm kind of surprised that maybe that was just my own thing. But yeah, like the whispering and like the spiritual kind of experience of it was very weird.
In the books that I've read, there is kind of like regular stardust and then another form that gets introduced at some point, and that other form is a little bit darker in essence, like, and its energy is connected to darkness and shadows. So my thinking here is that if I'm right, that there may be a dark magic connection here to the stardust that they found, and that's why they were getting this weird experience. Because when the Fae have traveled by stardust in other books I've read, you don't get a lot of like what they feel. It's like, you know, kind of a rush, and like they get there and they're thrown off and they don't feel well. It's like time travel.
Yeah.
But there isn't like whispering and the like star description that we got this time. Well, it's just giving me pause in this story because we know there are evil things at play. And so it's just making me wonder if that there is like evil below the surface and how this stardust was actually created.
I like that. I mean, one of my thoughts was, and like this goes back to the dragons, but like could it have been made using dragons in some way?
Right.
Because like I think there was a part, I think it was on the wall of this part, like the stars and the dragons. I don't know what that means, but yeah, that was my original thought. And like just trying to figure out why. Like, why is there a dragon? Like, I love the dragon, don't get me wrong, but like, why? You know?
Why? I think that's a great question. Why the dragon, and why is it being captured and held in the basement? Like, lots of questions about that. The dragon scene was epic. Like, I loved it. I really think that that's like a person. That's like a fae in dragon form that's being forced to stay in their order. And I really want to know who it is. I'm very curious. And like, I don't know, are they like very powerful? Is there something that the Reapers need from the dragon? Maybe to your point, it's to make this like stardust so they can like travel. I don't know.
Yeah. I was curious about it too. I think it is something to do with not letting it go back into its order form for sure. I think it's using whatever magic that it has. It's got to be like channeling energy or like stopping energy from leaving its order form.
Could the crystals be the thing that are pulling the energy from the Fae into it and so that they can use the dragon's power for whatever they need it for. Well, there was something with like the crystals in the wall and like emanating this like dark magic. So I feel like there's some connection, like one way or the other. And my other question is like, so they found the one tunnel and they found the bottom of it. So if they were to go to like a different chamber in a different land, would there be another dragon or would there be a different order for him?
Interesting. I don't know. I mean, I would have to assume it's a dragon. Like I'm feeling a lot of foreshadowing around these dragons and like actually one of the things that I thought was wild and like this might be far reaching, but
Okay.
the caverns that they found that let you time travel, right? Could those be different areas? Like it could be different areas in the Waning Lands, but there were some archways that had multiple elements on them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if that could mean that there were other areas in Solaria that aren't even encompassing the Waning Lands, that the Reapers could be traveling to in these caverns. And then they mentioned that in this like legend that the dragons were said to go to a different island to live peacefully or like be lost to the ocean. But I couldn't help but think of some of our dragon shifter pals from Zodiac Academy. The Reapers they have something to lose if other people in the Waning Lands knew about Zodiac Academy universe or like some of the other universes. So I thought that was interesting.
I do think that's interesting. And I think that I am desperately looking for like a blow your mind connection between like Zodiac Academy and this book. And like, I don't know if we're going to get it, but it would be really fun, especially as a surprise, because I think it's fun reading this like in real time and no one knows where it's going and no one knows what the connections will be. So it would be very fun if someone we knew showed up.
Yeah, I definitely like the idea of having this as an Easter egg, especially for them to like speak in there about the dragon shifters. 100% there's something there, especially if you're a fan of these two authors, to see how it kind of connects. But you're right, I don't think it's going to be like a huge plot point, but definitely still some connections there.
Yeah.
Vesper and Everest hear the low chanting of reapers and find a new door to run through that opens up to a stairwell. Together, they try to make sense of everything that they just saw. Everest is still dead set on exploring the archways in hopes of finding Harlan, while Vesper is still shook from finding a pathway back to Stormfell and the dragon held captive there. The crystals in its neck seemed particularly strange. Why would anyone want to cage a dragon shifter? They go their separate ways, and right on schedule, Vesper enters her room to find the cold kiss of a blade against her throat. Vesper has keyed her locks to allow Cayde in and no one else. How romantic. And Cayde suggests that he's not the only one watching Vesper and that she needs to be careful. Vesper says, "There were 1,000 reasons to deny myself of this rebellion and just give in to the fate Dragor had picked out for me. If we keep going in this direction, the prince will find out. I don't care what he might do to me, but I need you. I can't lose you." Cayde says. Then they get caught up in a very steamy, spicy scene. And both of them admit how absolutely consumed they are by each other and the severity of the risk of them being together. "We were playing with fire, but I couldn't help relishing the burn."
Kara, they're fucked. I'm sorry. But like, it just keeps escalating. Like, I feel like they're going down in flames and I'm just going to enjoy the show.
Oh, 100%. I love a forbidden romance. Like, it's one of the only things that gets me super excited in these books. It's the same as enemies to lovers. Like, those are kind of like the two tropes that I'm like, it's a page turner.
Yes.
I love it. I'm obsessed.
Yes. At every corner, you're like, you did it. You did it.
Yes.
But here they are. I think I just need to say, I know I've brought this up before, but there are a number of like little crossover details to Fourth Wing. And it keeps like surprising me. Like,
Interesting.
even the thing with the door that she has like warded her room to only allow him in. That's like something that Violet does, like for Xaden.
Interesting.
So I don't know. I love the vibe of what's going on, but it keeps like, I don't know, sticking out to me that there are these little bits. It makes me feel like people who like Fourth Wing would probably really like this book because I think it's edgier, it's a little thicker, like the vibes.
Everest goes sneaking around the keep and spots Kaiser and North in the refectory. Triggered by the feeling of frustration, the dark magic inside of Everest rises to the surface without her control, shattering the silencing shield that was protecting the Flamebringer's conversation from being overheard. It seems that the matriarch has trusted Kaiser with something, and he refuses to tell North. clearly causing North to feel envious and excluded and start to question their brotherhood. Kaiser voices that he is capable of things that others are not, things that would leave a mark on the soul of others, leave him unscathed. He is a weapon. He doesn't feel regret or guilt, and he has no heart. They realize their silencing shield has fallen, but they don't know how. Interesting note about Everest dark magic. I really don't think we've seen silencing shields shattered in other books, have we?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, it definitely feels like there's a power outside of her element or the cardinal magic that they use. I feel like I need answers. I need answers now. We've had zero answers.
I know there's no answers. The only little tidbit we got here was that something to do with her emotions shifting caused her power to move outside of her control, which I love. The emotions triggering magic and then it just kind of like doing what it wants without her. That I really liked.
Obvious what was happening here. So I'm hoping that as we continue to go through this huge bout of 10 chapters we have left, that things start to become more clear. Like it's starting to become obvious now that there's something about her. We just don't know what it is.
I'm scared, but it's fine, right? It's fine.
We gotta wait till June for book 2.
Yeah, we're getting there. This was the part in the book where I got that connection to like Vesper and Kaiser and the aspects of like the soul. And I feel like there's a possibility for like the beginnings of a redemption arc for these two. Again, I felt like the language was very intentional. Like he doesn't have a heart. It gave me like let me fix you vibes of like, is Everest going to be the one who feels like she needs to like make him whole? But also like they both, Vesper and Kaiser, have this belief that they are no good and they are dark and they are tainted. And so is there room for them to become more than just like the warriors and like the bringers of darkness that they've become? I think so, but time will tell.
Totally. Yeah, I'd love to see some POVs for some of the guys. Like Vesper, it's very clear that she's been made a weapon. Everyone sees her as a succubus and, leverage in a war. And it's very similar, as you said, to Kaiser and these orphan kids for the matriarch. Like they're very much just like there to do the matriarch's bidding. And there's rumors about them, but like there's really no understanding of who they are outside of that. So I'm hoping that we start to see a little bit more from Kaiser and just we're starting to see Vesper outside of those things, but Kaiser is still very much to us like this big broody weapon. I'd like to see more. Give us more.
I would love a POV. Oh my God. Imagine the last chapter was a Kaiser POV or a Cayde POV and they just like left us with that. Like I would lose it, but I would be like obsessed.
I would lose it. That's such a good idea. Honestly, I would love it. I would love it. A Kaiser one that like leaves us on the edge of our seat, like major cliffhanger territory.
Gives us like a little bit of humanity. Everest follows the boys as they leave the keep, knowing that killing outside the ground is fair game. So she has an opportunity here. Now the Flamebringers meet up with 5 Stonebreakers beyond the keep. A female Stonebreaker challenges the Flamebringers. She criticizes the matriarch, and North retaliates by shifting into his werewolf form and attacking her. Kaiser then shifts into his fury form and attacks the rest of them, leading them to unalive themselves and each other, while North unalives the female who started it all. Everest realizes real quick this is her cue to exit before things get crazy. So she creeps away into the darkness, and a sense of cold dread then passes her ear. Kaiser found her. So Everest is really in hot water because they are beyond the keep. And so her plan has totally backfired. And he has snuck up on her when she was trying to sneak up on him. So she runs for the rocks. She manages to hide somewhere where he can't get to her. He threatens her with fire and she offers a compromise. She starts negotiating. She says, how about we just fight and we don't use our orders and we just use blades like, an old school duel.
Like real men.
Like real men. Let me show you my sword skills. Now, Kaiser's like, nah, I'm good. He knows he has the upper hand, so he's not down. So meanwhile, they get into some mildly flirty banter. Not full flirt, but like it's there. And they challenge each other at the same time. They're trying to antagonize each other. Kaiser then asks what her order is. And Everest takes the cue that he is desperate to know what magic she used on him the night in his room. So Everest makes her move. And Kaiser attacks her. He pins her to the ground by her legs, and she is smart enough to hatch a little plan here. She creates a layer of ice beneath them, which falls away into a pit of emptiness as she cracks it, and she makes a run for it, escaping the fall. Kaiser, on the other hand, falls into the abyss, and she thinks she's done it. She thinks she's killed him, but unfortunately, she looks down and sees him climbing his way out. So she gets desperate and makes a run for it. She just decides to bolt back to the keep. She manages to make it back safely one more time, and she is feeling really good. She has made it known she's a worthy adversary, and she almost won this time.
I love an angsty little fight. Like, this felt very teasing, even though it was technically a life or death situation. Like, Kaiser didn't kill her. It was just cute. I was like, oh my God, roll around on the ground a little bit more, please.
Again, it's giving like, why can't I kill you vibes. Everest just kind of sucks. She's getting better. We love Everest, but like she kind of just sucks and she keeps thinking she's bigger than she is and puts herself in these kind of crazy situations. But
Yeah.
Kaiser just seems, for whatever reason, to just not go there, even though he's tempted. So
He likes her. He's
yeah.
at least curious.
He's at least curious. He either just likes toying with her, very cat and mouse, or she's his mate. And he literally can't kill her, which is feeling like a real possibility here, especially with the background on her order and her elements being a little mysterious. I could fully see some them being mated.
You love a good mate trope.
The fact that we've gotten no hints at mates yet is surprising.
Right. Vesper. The name which I had discarded as much as possible. The one they had given me for no reason beyond it being the next name on the list for the stray children born to the wrong nation. Its meaning always seemed like an odd twist of fate. An evening star or evening prayer. Venus at sunset. The name of the planet most associated with love. A joke. If there was one thing I had never been, it was loved. Sad, heartbreaking. There's a legend carved into the walls of the astral sanctuary in Rathbane. It tells the story of a love so powerful it broke the world in two and then two again. Layetta was a beautiful fireborn girl due to marry Rishan, Prince of the Earthlands. Alrir was betrothed to Kiana. Her face was scarred beyond recognition, but the purity of her soul shone through. Layetta took Alrir into her home after his ship wrecked upon her shores. She seduced him with the nature of her fire magic, and the two of them broke their betrothals and created an alliance, defying the stars. They ran from responsibility, stole treasures from air and earth people, and Rishan was so embarrassed by the betrayal that he sparked a great war between their lands, Avanis and Cascade. Now, Layetta and Alrir led an armada to attack the Air Kingdom. The Sky Forgers fled to save their people, and the Stonebreakers hired an assassin to take Layetta's life. Earth blamed fire, and fire called Earth ungrateful. The people of Stormfell watched the world tear itself apart and created a sanctuary in the sky, believing that peace would only come if they won the war themselves. Eventually, laws came to pass that no wielder of earth, sky, flame, or flood could merge their blood with one who wasn't born of the same element. With the rise of the Reapers came the prophecy, speaking of the day when peace could come at last. This just feels like, again, like another like sort of wives' tale that's being used to spin this divide amongst all of these different nations. It is starting to piss me off. The prophecy, I feel like they're bastardizing the prophecy right now.
Sacrilege.
I don't know if this is a theory or just kind of connecting them into the prophecy, but I feel like Everest and Vesper are the embodiment of the legend we learn about. Everest, with her ability to, well, her possible ability to wield fire, it sounded like she was embodying Layetta and Alrir's love, right? Like we've got water and fire converging, coming together. And then we've got Vesper. This one might be a little bit more far reaching, but she has these seductress powers. And I thought to myself in this moment, could she be a succubus? Like, did the journal Vesper once have belong to this Layetta woman? Because Vesper did say that the sage Moya gave her this journal from this succubus. So I don't know. There could be something there in the wording. I think it was like she seduced him with the nature of her fire. Either way, I feel like whatever this prophecy is, and again, this is my belief with the other prophecy that they found in the caverns, is like the Reapers are twisting, like maybe these prophecies do exist, but like they're twisting them for their own belief and desires. And so maybe there are these really powerful wielders that eventually, that at some point did live together and coexist happily between all of these different elements, and the prophecy was just twisted, or the legend was just twisted by the Reapers for their own gain.
I love that.
Right?
I love the whole like Sage Moya, this woman before who was a succubus. Like I had like a bit of an inkling, but I didn't fully connect the dots on that. But I was like, this seduction and the betrayal, like it feels like a power move. It feels like something Vesper would do, especially if there was like a gain for her land, that she would seduce someone to get them to like screw the other side's plans fully up, you know? So I could see that totally being like a succubus move, but I didn't think about the fact that that could be the original succubus, that she got that journal. Like, that would be crazy.
And if we go even further, she was supposed to marry another guy, Rishon, and instead falls in love with Alrir. Yeah. And like that could kind of mirror some of the things that are happening with Cayde and Prince Dragor. That's interesting. That's just something I didn't think of either. But who knows? Who knows? I feel like there's definitely, like, the end of this really pissed me off because I'm like, come on. Like, this was totally spun by the Reapers, and the Reapers saved the day. Like,
right.
Don't fuck with me.
No, like, and I think you're right. I think there probably is like an original prophecy, and like some of this, like the wording was very like too convenient. It was like, and with the Reapers came the prophecy. So it was like, I mean, maybe the Reapers weren't so bad in the beginning. And so therefore they did create this prophecy. And as they were given power, that power turned them for bad. And they found a way to like manipulate these different groups and keep them separate, because I think maybe these events did happen. That's like my theory, is like this story is true. It's just how it got used to like separate everyone and give the Reapers power is the part that they're playing with. I have maybe a theory where this could be going, which would be like, to your point of like the chosen ones being like the peacemakers, and the chosen ones being Everest and Vesper, and the Reapers not wanting anyone to know that that is the true version of the prophecy. And therefore, if Vesper and Everest figure out the true prophecy and somehow connect the dots that it could be them, now Vesper and Everest are a threat to the Reapers and what they're trying to achieve. And now we've got a different kind of war.
That is exactly what I think is going to happen too. A call came for the Sinfair to leave Neverkeep to join forces with the Sky Wielders battling at Rifarn. The Sinfair had made oaths to fight when called upon, duty-bound to leave the keep. Rakmir docked at the keep to take them all to war. They land in Rifarn and are told their objective is to help with the conquest of a tower. They lunge into battle, Vesper showing all of her strengths, and she spots Dragor at the tower, wearing his white battle leathers, and closing the door behind him. Cayde, Dahlia, and Moraine fight side by side until the crash of the tower door falling resounds around all of them. Vesper turns around to see the prince step out of the tower, and with the head of his target in his hand and a feral gaze staring right back at her before walking past her and toward Iron Wraith. Feeling the sensation of a hand curling around her throat and a whisper in her ear, "Do not forget your promise, Vesper."
This guy, Kara, oh my god.
He's a sick fuck.
In this scene, she's kind of like, oh, I wonder if he can tell that we have like this flirtatious energy even in war. It's like they're connected, right? Every time I'm like, girl, like shut those thoughts down, you know? Like you don't know what this guy's capable of. Like every I'm like, they're going to get found out. They're going to get found out right in this battlefield.
No, it stresses me out. And also, like, feeling a hand around her throat, what does that mean for his order? Like, what is this man?
Well, I thought it was like air, like, because he's like air magic.
True.
Like,
you're probably right, actually. That's probably what it was.
I thought it was very creative. It was a very creative take on air magic, like ground your throat. He loves a throat. Can we say?
I can't say I blame him. I love a good hand necklace.
Oh my god, leather pants and hand necklaces.
So good.
Wandershire returns to the keep. And Everest heads right for Mavis's place, ready to pay her debts. She finds him standing by the window, occupied with a gentleman friend, and Mavis kind of brushes that off and deeply admires Everest's clothing instead. He notices the custom work and the details that she put into each and every piece. We got a full-blown glimpse into Everest's fashion here, and I love it. Yes.
Yeah, she's so unique. I love her. She's taken a couple hits to her confidence, but that doesn't stop her from wearing the latest fashions that she's made herself.
Yeah, very creative clothing with lots of layers and skirts and trousers and fish scales. So Mavis asks what she's brought him, and he makes a sly comment about ripping her soul from her body and keeping it in a jar if she doesn't deliver. Ha ha ha. So she turns around and reveals the first weapon. Amber in hue and engraved with Venus and a cluster of stars on the blade. She admired Venus, representing the beauty and the love, the darkness that was comprised within those traits. And Mavis is very impressed. He does seem to be more impressed with Everest than the knife, which was kind of interesting in this scene. But nonetheless, she takes out the second set of blades, and they are twin bronze Gemini short swords. And she explains their uniqueness. They are shatterproof yet flexible and unable to corrode, and they are resistant to fire. Lastly, she takes out a small combat knife with a curved edge like a crescent moon, and she's included the moon phases across the sheen of its hilt and named it Lunalis. This sword is feather light and charged with the energy of moonlight, so it glows when you rub your fingers over the moon phases, causing the strike to be twice as powerful when it's thrown. Now, Mavis is pretty impressed by all of these, and he turns and takes out his own weapon from his stores, a metal brass knuckles kind of weapon. It's thick, heavy, and it's been hardened with dragon fire, Everest happens to notice. Dragon fire makes gold that is no longer gold, but draconia, as a result of the dragon fire. The weapon is imbued with the strength of the dragon scale included inside. We've got little Blue, our lizard friend, and we have a forge. So is it possible that maybe Vesper is going to get into some draconia of her own and make some badass fire-breathing dragon weapons?
I never even thought of that. I would fucking love that. Because, let me tell you, I devour every single time that she talks about her at the forge and creating the blades. I'm obsessed with her blades. This was so cool. Can we talk about it?
It was so cool. I thought she was just gonna toss some gloves and some knives on his desk and be done with it, but this was next level.
It was like a sales pitch. I want every single one of those blades. It was incredible, especially the tiny little daggers. I thought that was so cool.
I loved the little moon shape thing. He kind of brushed it off until she got into the details, but I loved it. I feel when they get into detail on these sorts of weapons, they're going to come back. These weapons are going to be used at significant events of the story, and they're going to get their full beauty and magic is going to get shown.
Right. Speaking of which, the first thing I thought of was I went back to the crystals in the dragon's neck.
Mm-hmm.
And what if the Reapers are trying to keep them in their order form because they're harvesting Draconia for the war? We talked about Mavis as well, possibly having allies in different places. Who knows what he's up to? I can't help but wonder how he's involved in that. How do you have Draconia, sir?
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thought, that they're harvesting Draconia.
Yeah, that's very interesting. How does Everest's mom know about Draconia?
Right?
She's a water wielder.
She knows some shit. She's got to know some shit.
I feel she got in cahoots with the dragon. She got in cahoots with the Flamebringer. And she got some of these secrets. Because otherwise, how does Everest know any of this,
I know. Yeah, she was a wise woman.
She was really downplayed. And we're learning she was way cooler than we thought. In a moment of vulnerability, after this exchange has happened and Everest is feeling she's got a confidence boost, Everest asks for Mavis's help. She confesses that she wants to kill a Fury. And Mavis is pretty quick on the draw here. He pieces together immediately that clearly it's Kaiser Brimtheon. And he starts laughing at her. Big mistake, apparently. Everest is fully triggered and grabs her combat knife and runs at him and cuts the side of his neck like a fucking psychopath.
I loved it. I loved it. It felt like a little gremlin came to the surface in her.
I was like, girl, this guy just like made a joke about keeping parts of your soul in a jar. Like, what are you thinking? With a little
Right?
giggle? Okay.
Crazy.
Now, he reacts real quick. He grabs her by the waist. He uses earth magic to tie her down and shows just how powerful he is. She manages to cut herself away, but he lunges right back at her, and he lunges right back at her, his rage fully spilling out of him. He turns, like he gets real dark in this scene. He doesn't look like he's messing around. He grabs the knife and then cuts her back in the same spot. But then he gets off of her and tells her, do not mistake him for a weak fae. He is ruthless, and that is what's made him the mayor of Wandershire. Like, enough said, Mavis, we see you. Okay. After this vicious exchange, Everest notices they have something in common. Something had left a stain on his soul, blackening it until it matched the color of her own. So there they are. They're actually not that different. She then gets over it and asks him if he has a book, and maybe he can help her understand the weaknesses of the Fury. So he gives her a book called The Intricacies of Fae, and she takes it. She hopes it will give her the answers she's looking for, both on Kaiser and her own order. So here we have it. I feel like we've been waiting to see Mavis's other side. We knew that it was there. This did feel like the beginning of something to me. It didn't feel like we saw all of what he's capable of, but Everest started it, whatever that was all about. I am not feeling good about this relationship, but now she knows what she's up against.
I fucking love him. Like, I love him. Oh my God. Obviously, he's crooked. He's got some gray areas. Nobody's perfect, but I just love him. I'm just so drawn to his character. I felt like even though they attacked each other, they had a really nice bonding moment here. I think that he's giving her a chance, but not without a cost. So that was up to Everest to play her cards right, and she didn't. She took the bait. How can you blame him?
Yeah, like he laughed at her. He didn't do anything that bad. She's been getting the heebie-jeebies from him, but like he didn't deserve to like get cut on the throat. This felt like a real like pack animal move, like knocking her down. He's the alpha, or like mob boss. It was giving mob boss, like, you work for me, I don't work for you, and like sit down.
Well,
like,
it's true.
Yeah, it is true.
It is true. So, like, as much as I love Everest, it's like, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane, you know, unless it's Kaiser, because then in which case, don't stay in your lane. Absolutely pummel that piece of shit. But I don't know. There's something about Mavis that he just has some redeeming qualities, and I love his character so much.
Yeah, I feel you. He's a very interesting character. Everest really needs to remember what she's in this for. She is getting things from him. She is giving them in return. She needs to like get in and get out. And like even screwing around with this whole like, I want to kill a Fury. I'm like, girl, I don't know why you are telling him this. Like, he's got relationships everywhere.
Yeah, like they're not friends. This is business.
You do one thing wrong, he's got some ammo. There is hope here that this book that she got is maybe going to give all of us some answers on her order, which I am dying for. Like, please, just tell us what she is.
I hope that we find out before the end of the book. I don't think I can go without knowing that information. So the Sinfair celebrate their battle victory with a celebration of debauchery and ruin. On this night, an eclipse was upon them. All Fae felt the sway of Venus, calling on their most base instincts. The ladies arrive, making their way to the dance floor and enjoy themselves, while Vesper sets her succubus order free, encouraging those around her to let their desires run wild as she got drunk on all their power. She spots Cayde lurking in the darkness in the hall and heads toward him, unable to find him when she arrives. She moves to leave and finds him at her back, his eyes filled with hunger and grabbing for her waist before he pushes her against a wall and kisses her. Things get hot and terrifying as these two do absolutely unspeakable things in a room full of allies and possibly snakes, and maybe even Dragor. In the throes of passion, they notice movement in the corner of their eye and pull themselves together quickly. They look around and can't find anyone focused on them and just have to hope that nobody saw them. The carelessness of the moment sinks in for Vesper as she considers whether she's sentencing Cayde to death by giving him what she promised the prince. I am so scared that Dragor knows and he's just like waiting for his moment to pounce. Like, this man does not seem dumb. Like, it feels like he's got people in all places.
It's like there's spies. Even Cayde was like, there's snakes and there's people watching you everywhere, but like then you're fucking in the corner.
Yeah, it's crazy. I love the idea that they're just so like blinded by feral lust that they cannot help it and have to make a public display like that. But at the same time, like, get your head right. You're gonna die. You're gonna die.
You're gonna die. This is foolish. You're giving like teenage love drunk. And like the stakes are too high for this, kids. Like, you need to get your shit together. Find a broom closet. Like, I don't know, but don't just do it in the shadows.
For real.
Honestly. But also, I love an eclipse. Again, this is a little Zodiac crossover. For any of you who are listening and haven't read Zodiac, I'm pretty sure we're quietly just motivating you to read these books, but we love an eclipse because they are so hot and dangerous. And it just leveled things up so much. As soon as they say that things are going to get crazy and this party is about debauchery and there's an eclipse, you just know crazy shit's going to happen.
Right.
And I love that. I love that they brought that in.
In our last chapter of this section, Everest dons a gold cloak that she's made, copying the uniform of a Reaper. She waits in the shadows for a Reaper to appear, throws her costume on, and then follows them to a door, arriving in an entrance with paintings of skeletal beings laying on blood-soaked battlegrounds, with the stars watching from above. Bright, unblinking eyes. These paintings depicted death of all forms. And in a room nearby, she observes the seer having a vision. The seer speaks out, saying, "It is time." One of the Reapers runs toward one of the paintings and flips it over to reveal a passageway. The acolytes are cleansed and waiting to meet with the Fae, with fate, and see which of them will survive their assessment. One of them says. Another Reaper leaves, saying that they will check on them. The seer calls out again, mentioning the sight of blood and fangs as sharp as blade. Monsters are on the horizon. Everest realizes this is her moment. She runs to the courtyard, hearing bells ring out across the keep. The same bells used for oncoming enemies, indicating that Neverkeep is under attack. She spots the Sky Witch standing with her friends. She runs for her and casts the silence shield around her, explaining what she heard in the Reaper's quarters, and that now is the time for them to act and find out once and for all what they're up to. Vesper demands that Everest extends her silencing shield to include Dahlia and Moraine, and she agrees. Vesper commands her friends to both trust and listen to Everest. The Reapers are hiding something unimaginable at the keep, and it's time I showed you what it is.
A group of savages going after these Reapers, and I'm pumped. Like, this I didn't see coming, like the whole like group of them coming together, but this was a deadly place to stop. Can we just acknowledge that I was so upset? This was the chapter we ended on.
Crazy. I could not believe it. I have thoughts here. I feel like these monsters are the vampires. That part feels super obvious to me, just with like blood and fangs, and like even just the foreshadowing that we got in the beginning of the vampires not really staying at the keep. They kind of go off and do their own thing. So then for me, the question started to become, why would they do that? Like, why would they rebel against the Reapers? And so my thought is, like, do they somehow know that the Reapers are causing divides? And are these vampires part of this rebellion to stop the Reapers?
Yeah, I mean, I wish we knew more about the vampires, because it was kind of weird that those vampires showed up at the very beginning when they were going into Hellfort.
Yeah.
And then like we didn't get them again. Are they even at the school? Like, we aren't hearing about them. It would really be helpful right now to know. I assume vampires go to Neverkeep. We just don't hear about them.
I think that they go to become awakened at Hellfort, but they don't actually go to Neverkeep, from what I understood.
I like that. Interesting. I feel like there's a thing with the dragons. Now, to your theory of the vampires, there was that mention of like Vesper saying one of the things that she had heard was that the dragons left and they went to an island kind of like the vampires. Well, maybe they're all together, and maybe that's the motivation, is have the dragons befriended the vampires. Because to me, I think the motivator would be if there's dragons being kept below the keep prisoner, then now if there are other dragons, they have a reason to save their kind, especially because there's so few of them. So could they and the vampires, who they've indicated that their power is so great that like you can't beat a vampire, well, now they have this group of monsters that's like, to your point, like ready to seek revenge against these Reapers. Reapers.
I love that. Yeah, I could totally see the dragons being involved in this. The Reapers are using those dragons in some way, whether that's for the Draconia, the Stardust, God knows. But I would love to see whatever these monsters are, whatever's declaring war, is the dragons being involved.
Can you imagine we start the next chapter and there's a dragon/vampire war and we've just been sitting on the edge of it for like until we did this episode? Like, brutal.
These next 10 chapters are going to be wild. I already know it.
Yes, they were wild. This little chunk leading into the next was the beginning, like the seer. The fact that we got a seer, seeing all these kind of like creepy things, the death paintings, like there was a lot revealed. And immediately when Vesper made a gold cloak to look like the Reaper, I was like, what are you doing? Like, it's one thing to go into this like random cave at night where you can like hide yourself. But like, girl, like I admire you, but holy shit, I'm worried for you.
Well, yeah, she took a risk. Like she was not fucking around. She was done waiting, sniveling around in caves and was like, let's go to the source. And thank goodness, because apparently there's this big vampire/beastly monster war on the horizon.
Yes, which like the seers didn't seem to know about. They got like that glimpse. So there was the comment about like, I'll go check on the acolytes and see if they're like how they're doing with their initiation, or are they ready? Is it like have the Reapers called these monsters and they're gonna like feed the acolytes? Like what is going on?
I do have a theory about
Okay.
that. For the Reapers, I think that the prophecy that Everest and Vesper saw in the caverns that was completely hidden away just for the Reapers is the true prophecy. I think that they do not want that prophecy to happen because they will lose their control of Neverkeep, or in this, the Waning Lands, we'll call it. So they're trying to summon this dark energy, whatever this is. And I think what they're trying to do is create this chosen one from the prophecy so they can get ahead of the prophecy happening in some way. And like, as it relates to the acolytes, I feel like they're being sacrificed. Like they say, the acolytes are being cleansed and waiting to meet with fate and see which one of them will survive. Like, could that be because they are trying to like find that chosen one, the peacemaker? I don't know. Something.
Yeah.
Like, I still can't figure out what's feasting. Like, what is fucking feasting?
I don't know. It seems like a magic thing. Like obviously they're draining magic for some reason. I love that theory. I keep going back to that dragon underneath the keep and wondering like what is the purpose and how are they using him or it? And I got wondering if like could that dragon have been an acolyte at one time? Well, then the order got awakened and they have this dragon, so then they like kept him, I'm gonna call him, her, whatever. And they've been like milking the power out of this dragon. And so could the assessment be like, can the acolytes survive having this like crystal collar on them that keeps them in their order so they can like serve the stars by like pulling this energy out of them?
Interesting. The way that it was brought up, like with Mavis and him being like, this is Draconia, Everest. Just felt like a big F for foreshadowing. And I'm like, okay, this is, like you said, it's going to be used in the war somehow. But like, is it going to be the Endless War or this new war?
I think it has to do with Blue. I think like Blue is going to provide Everest with the ability to make swords using Draconia. That's my theory, is like that's why she got that tidbit, is because now she's going to be able to do something that is like this super powerful thing that no one else can create because there are no dragons, right? So the only dragon they know of is like under the keep, except for maybe this baby dragon that's like sleeping in her bed.
I love that. I would love to see her make a Draconia blade. It would be the most badass one yet, for sure.
Yes. I have a question for you. Where the fuck did Galamp go?
He hasn't been around.
He was like there when Everest was doing this ice battle with her brother, and then he's just gone.
No, you're right.
He should have been invited into the little silencing.
I know. I hope that he wasn't just like a catalyst for the plot. We really loved Galamp.
No, I think he has to have a greater purpose. But it just dawned on me that I was like, he kind of vanished in the last few chapters. She clearly didn't think he was worthy of doing this secret mission with her. When did she put her Reaper cloak on?
And that's all we have for today's episode. Read the rest of the book ahead of next episode. There are 10 chapters left, and we are so excited to get into them. We will be talking about it all. Please read along. If you have a book that you want us to cover or your own theories on what is coming in Echo Fort, please send us an email at fantasyfemmefatales.pod@gmail.com. And if you want to hang with us more often, find us on socials at fantasyfemmefatales. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to your podcasts. We'll see you next time.